Hello everyone. Welcome to Practically. We bring learning alive. And today we're gonna discuss 60 most important questions for tomorrow's exam of yours. As you all know, you have a term one exam of science tomorrow. I'm bringing the 60 most important questions from physics, chemistry, and biology. Okay, so let's begin.
Yes, you heard it right. We are doing 60 most important questions. So, are you ready? So, let's start. The first question. So, here is the chemistry section. The first question is, Sir, the question is the chemical reaction between copper and oxygen can be categorized as displacement reaction, decomposition reaction, combination reaction, or double displacement reaction. Sir, what is the answer?
What do you think? See here, copper is reacting with oxygen, right? So copper is getting oxidized and obviously oxygen is getting reduced. So this can't be a displacement reaction. And here what is happening? Copper is reacting with oxygen, right? So it has to be combination reaction.
Yes, sir, you are absolutely right. Here we know that in combination reaction, two or more substances join together or to react together to form a single substance. So here it is a combination reaction. So let's see the answer. Here you can see the copper reacts with oxygen to form copper oxide. So that's why it is a combination reaction. Next question.
Now let's move to the next question. The next question is which of the following oxide of iron would be obtained on prolonged reaction of iron with steam? The options are FeO, Fe2O3, Fe3O4 and Fe2O3 and Fe2O4. The answer to this question, what do you think is the answer?
Sir, can I?
Yeah,
So
sure.
the answer is Fe3O4 because it is reacting only with the steam. So there is water which is in the gaseous phase. So here I think the answer should be Fe3O4.
I have one query to you then. Why doesn't it form a FeO or Fe2O3 then?
Here, because Fe2O3 forms when your iron reacts with oxygen and water both together, then it will be forming your ferric oxide. Now, it's react only with steam, which is water in the gaseous state. That's why it is forming Fe3O4. So, let's see the answer.
So as you can see, the chemical reaction for this is Fe plus H2O. It gives you Fe3O4 plus H2O. Actually, in this reaction, what happens? Both FeO and Fe2O3 actually combines together. In fact, both of them forms in some part of the reactions. And later on, both of them combines to give you Fe3O4. Okay?
Yes.
Sure.
So, let's see the next question. Hydrogen gas is not evolved when a metal reacts with nitric acid. Okay, it is because HNO3 is a strong oxidizing agent. We know that. It oxidizes the hydrogen produced to water and itself get reduced to any of the nitrogen oxide, that is N2O, NO, NO2. But dash and dash react with very dilute nitric acid to evolve hydrogen gas. Sir, I don't know this answer. Can you help
What do you
me?
think? See, nitric acid is a very, very strong acid. In fact, it's a strong oxidizing acid. So whenever it reacts with metal, it always releases the hydrogen gas. But the thing is that nitric acid being an oxidizing agent also, it converts that hydrogen, I would rather say, it oxidizes that hydrogen to water. And that is why you get the H2O. But there's the catch here. What is that catch? Here in this case, your magnesium your magnesium and manganese, both of them also have a reducing property. So what happens here? Magnesium, so your nitric acid reacts with the metal, this metal, it forms, it releases hydrogen. Then nitric acid, being an oxidizing agent, converts that hydrogen to water. But since magnesium and manganese, these are reducing agent, they reduce your water back to the hydrogen. So basically, manganese and magnesium, they actually counters the action of a nitric acid, and that is why the answer here is magnesium and manganese.
So, sir, that you mean that magnesium and manganese are those metals, or you can say those oxidizing, reducing agent when your nitric acid react with any metal, then it will be forming water as a byproduct. But here magnesium and manganese both are reducing agent, so water form. But what happens, this water form, this magnesium and manganese, due to having strong reducing power, they reduce this water to hydrogen gas. That's why magnesium and manganese is the answer. Yes, sir?
Yes,
Okay. Okay. So let's see. Yes, we can see that here are the reason for why magnesium and manganese is your the metals which react with HNO3 to provide hydrogen gas. So let's see the next question.
So the question is, a white salt on heating decomposes to give brown fumes and yellow residue is left behind. The yellow residue left is of what? Can you answer this?
Sir, I think lead nitrate when heat it gives lead oxide, and I think the yellow color residue is of lead oxide. Sir, am I right or wrong?
Yes, absolutely, you are right. And the yellow, and one more thing, the brown fumes that you see, those brown fumes are of N2. N2 gives you that brown wala fumes. Okay.
Okay, so that means the brown fumes is of nitrogen dioxide
Yes, absolutely.
and the lead oxide is of yellow color.
Yes.
So
Absolutely. Sure.
move to the next question. Now the next question is the displacement reaction between iron third oxide and a metal X is used for welding the rail tracks. Here X is. So sir, can you answer this?
See, it can't be copper granules, it can't be magnesium rivels, obviously, it can't be sodium pellets, it is aluminum dust. Aluminum is a metal which is quite light in the property and it has a very high strength. That is why the answer should be the aluminum dust here. Okay?
That means the aluminium reduces the metal oxide, most probably an iron third oxide, to produce ferrous and aluminium oxide. That means we are having ferric oxide and we are having aluminium. When they react together, they will give iron and aluminium oxide, and this is also an exothermic reaction because heat is evolved. Okay, so the correct answer is aluminium dust. Now next question. In a chemical reaction between sulfuric acid and barium chloride solution, the white precipitate formed are of what? Is it HCl? Is it barium sulfate? Is it chlorine? Or is it sulfur? Can you answer this?
Now look. Since the reaction is between what? Reaction is between your sulfuric acid, right? It is H2SO4 that is reacting, and along with that, what is reacting? Barium is reacting, right? So since the reaction, oh, sorry.
Sir, I like green color. Please write from green color.
Okay. So the reaction is between barium and your H2SO4. So do you think is there any chance of HCl? No, HCl can't be your answer. Chlorine? No. Sulfur? No. The only answer which can be here is barium sulfate, because barium sulfate also gives you a white color PPT. Okay. You can also understand that from some of the qualitative answers. Okay. Sure.
Yes. So the white PPT is of barium sulfate. So let's move towards the next question, that is identify the acid and the base from which sodium acetate is obtained. Acid is acetic acid and base is sodium hydroxide. Acid is ethanoic acid and base is sodium hydroxide. Acid is sulfuric acid and base is sodium hydroxide, or both first and second. I think the answer should be both first and second. Why? Because ethanoic acid is the IUPAC name and acetic acid is the common name. So both are the same, ethanoic acid and acetic acid.
Absolutely. And the explanation for that goes like this. See, this is your acetic acid, CH3COOH, right? And it is reacting what? Reacting with NaOH. Now, NaOH being a base, it gives you what? It gives you OH minus, right? And acetic acid being an acid, it gives you what? It gives you H plus ion. So together, both of these gives you water, right? Which is a neutralization reaction we know, and what you are left with is CH3COONA, which is sodium acetate. Now there's a one trick for this. What is that trick? See, you just need to take a salt. Salt is already there. What is salt? Sodium acetate, right? So you just put the water into this. You would get what? You would get CH3COOH plus NaOH. That's it. That is called as salt hydrolysis. About what? So about that you will learn in 11th. Okay. So let's move to the next question then.
So the answer is first and second.
Yes.
Now move towards the next question.
Now the next question is magnesium chloride. Magnesium chloride forms which type of a bond? Options are covalent bond, ionic bond, coordinate bond, and metallic bond. Now see, this question might confuse you a bit, okay? But the thing is that magnesium, this is your magnesium chloride, okay? If you break it down, see, this is your magnesium chloride, okay? If you break it down, what do you get? You get Mg2 plus 2Cl minus. You can see clearly here, this is a cation, and this is a anion. Exactly. So the bond between cation and anion could be what? The bond between cation and anion should be only a ionic bond. Because there's a one more reason for it. See, for a metallic bond forms between only the metal and metal. If the only one metal is there, it's a metallic bond. Okay. If there is the one Lewis acid, Lewis base, it's a coordinate bond. If one is metal, another is non-metal, it's an ionic bond. And if both of them are non-metal, then it's a covalent. Okay. That's the trick for this question.
So yes, the answer is ionic bond. So let's move towards the next question, and the next question is ionic compound conduct electricity in solid state and aqueous state, molten state and aqueous state, both first and second, none of the above. We know that ionic compounds conduct electricity, but electricity only flows when there are free ions. So here in solid state, we do not have any free ions. So molten state and aqueous state are the compound, or you can say the ionic compound conduct electricity only in the molten state and aqueous state. So my answer is second, that is aqueous state and molten state.
Absolutely. You are absolutely right, because in solid state you do not have an ions, and to conduct electricity you need a free ions, and you can have free ions only either in a molten state or in an aqueous state. Okay.
So yes,
as
the
you can
answer
see,
is molten state and aqueous state.
so the next question here is explain why calcium metal after reacting with water starts floating on its surface. So the options here are calcium starts floating because bubbles of hydrogen gas formed stick to the surface of metal. Second, calcium starts floating because the bubbles of CO2 gas formed stick to the surface of metal. Third, calcium starts floating because the bubbles of chlorine gas formed stick to the surface of metal. Now, you need to cut it out. What are the options? Now, fourth, we'll see whether fourth is the option or not. Third, calcium starts floating because the bubbles of chlorine gas formed stick to the surface of metal. No, there is no probability of this, because calcium metal, you have only calcium metal and water. Do you see any chlorine gas there? No. There isn't any chlorine. So this option naturally goes, right? Second option. What is second option? Calcium starts floating because of bubbles of CO2. Again CO2. See, you have oxygen here, but do you have a carbon here?
No.
Because if you don't have a carbon, you can't form CO2, right? So this option also goes. Now, what is the first option? Calcium starts floating because bubbles of H2 gas form stick to the surface of metal, and that's the answer, right?
And one more thing, not only calcium but magnesium does the same thing. That magnesium also starts floating when the bubbles of hydrogen gas form and they stick to the surface of the metal. So here, not only calcium but magnesium does the same thing. So remember, calcium and magnesium both are the answers. So here, first answer is your correct. So let's see the answer. Yes, calcium start floating because the bubbles of hydrogen gas are there formed stick to the surface of the calcium metal. Okay, now move towards the next question. Now this is somewhat assertion and reasoning. Here you feel that there is some confusion that which option is the most appropriate. You know the answer, but you don't know which option is the most appropriate one. So first of all, just learn this thing. When you are having both assertion and reason, if both are true and R is the correct reason, or you can say explanation of A, then you mark option A. If both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation, or you can say R is not the reason of assertion, so you mark option B. A is true but R is false, then mark option C. And A is false but R is true, mark option D. So here now you are, I think, clear about this thing, that as what option you should put or you should mark in the your question paper. So here, if the assertion says after whitewashing the walls, a shiny white finish on walls is obtained after 2 to 3 days. Okay. Now reason says calcium oxide react with carbon dioxide to form calcium hydrogen carbonate, which gives shiny white finish. What do you think? Assertion or reason are correct or false? What do you think? But what I think is, after whitewashing, we get a shiny surface in 2 to 3 days. That is, assertion is correct. But this thing, calcium oxide react with carbon dioxide to form calcium hydrogen carbonate, which gives shiny white finish. I don't think so. Because when your calcium oxide react with your water, then it will be forming calcium hydroxide. Now this calcium hydroxide react with carbon dioxide to form calcium carbonate. And this white shining finish is due to this calcium carbonate.
Exactly. And that means your calcium hydroxide is reacting with CO2 to give you calcium carbonate. But in reason they were saying what? They were saying calcium oxide reacts with it. So that means your reason is wrong. Right? So that means A is true, but your R is not true. It's a false. Right?
So that means option C is your correct answer. Look how you can answer these questions. You should remember which is the most appropriate option. Okay, so only mark those option or that option which is the most appropriate one. Now moving towards the next question. Fresh milk in which baking soda is added takes a longer time to set as curd. Baking soda decreases the pH value of fresh milk. This is your reason. So what I think here is that baking soda is a base. We know that. And if we are adding baking soda that is base to any acid, or we can say the milk, then it increases the pH value.
Exactly, because base has pH higher than 7, right? 7 to 14 are base and 0 to 7 are acid. So fresh milk in which baking soda is added takes a longer time to set as curd, right?
So here, let's see the answer. So the answer is C, because A is true and R is false, because it increases the pH. Okay. So fresh milk, when it is added with baking soda, then it takes longer time to set as a curd, because in curd you know that there is a acid which is known as lactic acid. Okay. Now moving towards the next question.
So what does the next question say? It says, assertion says white silver chloride turns gray in sunlight. And reason for that is decomposition of silver chloride in presence of sunlight takes place to form a silver metal and chlorine gas. Now That is absolutely right. See, whenever you have a AgCl, if you keep this in sunlight, there is a photochemical reaction happen. Photochemical means what? Photo means light, chemical means reaction. So this photochemical reaction happen, which turns a silver chloride into a gray color. Now, why does that happen? It's because your AgCl gets decomposes in presence of any form of a light, and because of that silver you have a grayish color. So here your A, you can, so here you can see here your both A and R both are absolutely right. Your assertion is right and R is also right. Both of them are true and R is also a correct explanation for the A. Okay.
Yes, because your silver chloride is decomposed to form silver and chlorine gas. So that's why A is correct, R is correct, and R is the correct reason for assertion. Okay, so that's why A is the right answer. So moving towards the next question, and the next question says soap is acidic in nature, and reason is turmeric is a natural indicator which gives reddish tinge in bases. So I know that soap is a basic in nature. So soap is basic in nature, so A is false. So here A is false, but R is true because turmeric is a natural indicator which gives red spots in the presence of a base.
Now let me give you a simple trick here. See, whenever you come to know that your A is false, then you can see in the option, you got only one option where A is false, and that is D. You can see here. In both A and B, A is right. C is also A is right. But in D, A is false. Now you don't care about R. If A is false, that's it. You got your answer D. That simple it is. Okay. But this is when your A is, your assertion is false. Okay. Other than that, you need to see for all the options.
Yes. Now moving towards the next question. Here lead nitrate is added to potassium iodide. Iodide ion displaces nitrate from lead nitrate, and nitrate displaces iodine from potassium iodide and form potassium nitrate and lead iodide. Such a big question, yes, but don't worry, we will answer this very well.
We will answer this by writing a reaction for this, because when you write the reaction, no, you will understand this very easily. So lead nitrate, how does lead nitrate looks? PbNO3 2, right?
Yes.
Now this gives you two ions, Pb2 plus NO3 1 minus. There are two nitrate, right?
Yes.
And this is reacting with what? Potassium iodide. So here you have a 2Ki. 2Ki will give you what? 2K plus and plus 2I minus.
Yes.
Now what do you think happens here?
Here nitrate ion will displace iodine ion from the potassium iodide, and iodine will displace nitrite ion from its solution. So it will be forming what? Lead iodide, which is yellow precipitate, and your what? We are left with potassium nitrate. So lead iodide and potassium nitrate will be formed.
So that is how you get lead nitrate plus, potassium nitrate plus lead
Iodide. So this is your option C. Here A is true but R is false. Why? Because the exchange of ions take place, and we know that exchange of ions take place in double displacement reaction, not in displacement, because in displacement reaction a more reactive metal displaces a lower reactive metal. Okay, so remember this. Now moving towards the next question.
So the next question. Now this is a case study. Okay, this is case study type question where you have been given a story, and in the story obviously the facts would be given, and based on that fact you need to answer the questions which are going to follow after this. So let me read out the story now. What is it? So on the basis of reactivity of different metals with oxygen. See, in fact, most of the metal reacts with oxygen. Okay, so based on their reactivity with metals, and obviously metals with oxygen, then water and acids. Okay, as well as some of the other displacement reactions. So the metals have been arranged in a decreasing order of their reactivity. That means from the most reactive metal to the least reactive metal. So this arrangement is known as activity series or reactivity series of metal.
Yes. So, the basis of the reactivity is the tendency of metals to lose electrons. If a metal can lose electron easily to form positive ion, it will react readily with other substance, and hence we can say it is a very reactive metal. And if it do not lose electron easily, then it will be your less reactive metal. So, let's see the reactivity series. Here you can see the reactivity series. Now can you know, or do you know the trick of this reactivity series? How to remember this? So here is the mnemonics for you. Please stop calling me a careless zebra. Instead try learning how copper saves gold. So this is one of the trick, and one of the trick is केदारनाथ का माली आलू जरा फीके पकाता है. So this is my trick to remember this, and you can use this trick. Please stop calling me a careless zebra. Instead try learning how copper saves gold.
Absolutely. I hope this mnemonic surely helps you to remember this complete order. See, P stands for potassium, S stands for sodium, choline stands for calcium, Me magnesium, A aluminium, careless calcium, carbon, zebra, zinc, instead iron, try, tin, learning, lead, how, hydrogen, copper, gold. S stands for silver, then gold, and you also have a mercury here. Okay.
Yeah.
Below the hydrogen, there are four metals. One is your mercury, copper, silver, and gold. Okay. Now let's see how does this order helps us to solve the different kind of question based on this criteria.
Yes. So the first question is,
which of the following metal is less reactive than the hydrogen? So as I just told you, there are only four metals which are less reactive than hydrogen. One of them is copper, mercury, gold, silver. Which option do you have here?
so here copper is less reactive than hydrogen because hydrogen lies above the copper. So you can say hydrogen is more reactive than copper. Okay. So now moving towards the next question. Now see how this reactivity series help you in answering the questions. Yes. Now next, which of the following metals is more reactive than hydrogen? Mercury, platinum, iron or gold? So the answer should be iron, because iron is more reactive than hydrogen, as sir already told you that platinum, mercury, gold lies below the hydrogen in the reactivity.
So see, this kind of question might confuse you many times. If you can't remember the series completely, no, there's a simple trick, very simple trick. You just remember 4 or 5 metals which are less reactive than hydrogen. Then whatever metal comes apart from them, all of them are more reactive than hydrogen. Isn't it simple? Yeah.
That's great.
So copper, mercury, silver, gold, platinum. That's it. These 5 metals are less reactive than metal. Apart from this, whatever metal comes in front of you, all of them are more reactive than the hydrogen. Isn't
yes.
it?
So moving towards the next question. So the next question says, which of the following metals react vigorously with oxygen? Look at the question language, that metals react vigorously with oxygen. So what do you think? Zinc, magnesium, sodium and copper. So I think sodium is most reactive among all these metals. So here sodium reacts with oxygen very fast.
It's because sodium is your alkali metal. All the alkali metal reacts extremely vigorously with the oxygen, because alkali metal has tendency to form a cation. Okay.
Yes. So moving towards the next question.
So which of the following represents the correct order of reactivity for the given metals? Now you have seen that series, right? Where you come to know that sodium is your most reactive.
Yes.
After that you have what? you have a magnesium after that, then you have a aluminium after that, then you have a copper after that. See, these are some of the factual questions where you need to remember the facts, and based on that you can answer the question of that.
Yes.
Okay.
So the right answer is sodium, then magnesium, then aluminium, and then copper. You can see the reactivity series here. Now moving towards the last question. So the last question is, which one of the following four metals would be displaced from the solution of its salt by other three metals? If I want to say this option is copper. B option is copper. So here A is magnesium, B is copper, C is zinc, or D is silver. So here the question says, among all these four metals, which can be displaced from its solution? Which of the following metal can be displaced from its solution by other three metals? So here we know that magnesium, zinc, and copper are more reactive than silver. So they can easily displace silver from its solution. So the answer should be silver, option D. Let's see the answer. Yes, we get silver as our answer. So here silver gets displaced from its solution by these three metals. You can see the reactivity series here.
So I hope whatever questions we have solved here, it helps you to prepare better for your exam. Okay, all the best from
All the best.
So we have already covered chemistry questions, the 60 most important question series. This is for your tomorrow's science exam. Now let's start with the physics part. Physics part is Arjun sir is going to cover, and I'm just going to understand from him a little bit. If I can answer, I'll answer. So let's begin with our first question for physics. Okay, let's.
Yeah, okay, fine. A real image is formed by light rays after reflection or refraction. When they, you are given some options over here. Option A, actually meet or intersect with each other. Option B, actually converge at a point. Option C, appear to meet when they are produced in backward direction. Option D, appear to diverge from a point. Now we have to select the right one from these following options.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so I think that if they are actually meeting, let's say, let's start writing it. So I think if they are actually meeting, they will always produce a real image, and I think real image is always is like a, you can say it's formed when intersection happens. If I'm right,
Yes,
if I'm
yes.
right. Okay.
So when they are really meeting, at that point of intersection, real image is formed.
So you can get that on the screen. That's what
Yes,
it is.
exactly.
Okay, because real meeting of
Yes,
it.
yes.
Okay. And actually converging also seems the same case. Like
Yes, of
I
course.
have been taught if this.
Yeah. That's what we are calling it as converging point.
Uh-huh.
So if the light rays are actually meeting or intersecting or converging really, so that one name, whatever it may be, it forms a real image on the screen. So definitely we can opt these two, A and B. And comes to C and D, they said here appear to meet, right?
Yeah, appear is
So
like
then-
not appear we cannot get on the screen. So real
Yes.
image not the correct.
So it won't be that C and D are not correct then generally.
Yeah.
So A and B are correct here. So we can
So
opt
option
the-
number 3.
Exactly.
Okay, sir. So let's then move to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, for all of our students' reference, we have kept the answer also with it, so that you can download and
Yes.
easily can revise. Okay.
Exactly.
Let's move to the next question, sir.
Yeah.
So let's read. I'll read it.
Yeah. Fine.
So when the object is placed anywhere in between optical center and infinity of the concave lens, sir. So
Yeah.
you go ahead and draw. Now you have
Okay,
to
fine,
make
I
me
will.
understand this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. See here, the concave lens is it's also called diverging lens. It's also called diverging lens. The shape of this concave lens will be like this, and we'll call it as biconcave lens. Fine. And this is the optic center. So if I draw the principal axis, and this will be F and 2F for reference, focus and center of curvature points. So now here the question is, object is placed anywhere in between optic center and infinity. All right. So this is the optic center, and infinity somewhere else here. In between these two, if object is kept. Okay. So somewhere else here. Yeah.
Okay.
Then how about the nature of the image? And that's what the question.
So in general, concave lens is the diverging lens.
Yes.
Correct. So all the rays will go and diverge.
Exactly.
They will not converge.
Yes, they will die.
So real is not. We just remember from the question number 1 itself that only converging or actually meeting rays produce real.
Exactly.
So real is gone, sir. So I'll just remove all the gone with real.
Okay.
Real I won't.
Fine. This is eliminating one. Yes.
So now we have to make virtual erect and we have to make the virtual inverted.
Okay, fine then. So actually, virtual images are generally they are upright always virtual erect images, and when it comes to this concave lens, it produces always virtual erect diminished case.
Okay.
Okay.
So sir, you can like guide it through the ray diagram.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So here, when it comes to concave lens, basically two types of images we used to get. The one is when you are keeping the object at infinity. When you are keeping the object at infinity, we'll get the image that means appears to be formed at focus.
Okay.
But this is not the case. In that case, the image is virtual erect but highly diminished.
Okay.
But this is the case where the object is placed between optic center infinity.
Okay.
So that means the second case.
Okay.
In such case, we will get suppose if this is the object, the light ray, this will be appears to be diverged
Okay.
from the focus, and the second one I will take it through optic center. So from here, let it be. So now here, as I said, this is diverging lens, and here when the light ray which is passing through the optic center from a concave
Yeah.
lens.
Sir, I think if we can remove this part so that this ray comes at the
Exactly,
left side.
exactly.
Yes.
So here this will be appears to be moving.
Yes.
This will be appears to be meeting.
Okay.
So somewhere else these two light rays will be meeting over here. We will get a virtual erect and diminished image.
Okay, that will be smaller than the size of the object.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. So let's move to the next one. This means simply that. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
virtual
virtual
erect.
erect and diminished image.
Exactly.
Fine. Now question number 23. It seems to be big, so let.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So a teacher gives a convex lens and a concave mirror. Okay. So what we are talking. So when you see these questions in exam, which are so lengthy, you can either skip them for the first time, and save your time and go read short questions.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because then you will
can
save
save
the
your time.
yes, and maybe you can leave this question at all if it is so big to read. Okay. So let's read it from here. So a convex lens and a concave mirror. Okay. Focal length is given. Something is given, and now each to his student, and they are asking the focal length. Find the focal length. The student uses a distant tree. So basically, this is a simple example of object is at infinity.
Exactly. So
Because
distant
dis-
objects we use it to say at infinity objects.
Correct.
Okay.
Now the distance between D1 and D2 in the two cases and the nature of their respective sharp images. See, where I just remember very far object, so infinity.
Yes. Correct.
So convex lens will converge
yes.
and will make a real image.
Real image.
Correct?
Okay, fine.
And real is inverted in that case.
Yes.
So I'll again do the elimination only. So
Yeah.
erect cannot be, and erect for the first case D1 is what lens? Convex
It's
lens.
convex lens.
So it is going to make real image.
real.
Correct. So real image. So erect cannot be.
Yeah.
So erect is gone. This means either it is inverted this or this.
Yeah. Okay.
I know concave mirror forms virtual image. Concave mirror.
No. Actually,
Oh,
that
this
is
is
convex
wrong.
mirror. Yes, of course, in concave mirror, one special case is there.
Yeah.
But this case is different. This
Oh.
is the object is placed at distant, right? Which means the object is at infinity, right?
Okay.
In such case, for concave mirror, image will be obtained at focus. So
Okay.
then it forms a real image.
Okay.
So here also, for both convex lens and concave mirror, the image will be real and inverted.
So they were playing with our this lens and mirror. So here the question was one was lens, the other was mirror.
Exactly.
And we should always remember that convex lens and concave mirror behave very similarly
Exactly.
in the image formation case.
Even we can say that convex lens is called converging lens, as well concave mirror is called converging mirror.
And both converging will always lead to real image and inverted image. This is from question number 1 only.
Yeah, when object is kept at infinity in this particular case.
Okay, so this means
Yeah, exactly. So here they said the screen is likely to be placed at their focus. Focus is the,
Okay.
I mean the distance at where the focal length we are measuring
Yeah.
exactly from optic center or mirror to the focus.
Yeah.
So that will be 20 centimeter and 20 centimeter. Since their focal length you are given here 20 centimeter.
so always the image is focus.
At focus.
So how can you do it fast? Read convex lens, concave mirror. Don't read all this. Just see the trick. Both will form converging. Converging means real. Real means inverted. Look out for both inverted. Tick it and go.
If you are able to understand that complete meaning of the question at instant, definitely you will get an answer quickly.
But
not
but
a
the
big
values
issue.
you should check. They should
Yeah,
not
you
have
have to
played here.
check.
20,
Yeah.
40 if they do, then you have to think
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
Then you should know it is always the focal length.
Yeah.
That's where the image is formed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next.
Let's move to the next question.
Yeah.
The solution is there for you. Okay, let's erase this part. Okay. Twinkling of stars. I think this is a very simple question. Every NCRT student knows it, correct?
Yeah, simple and interesting too.
Yeah.
Because and it's right from the beginning, when we used to see at night times during in the sky.
Yeah.
Okay, we used to see that stars twinkling, right?
Yeah.
So that a simple phenomena behind it is atmospheric refraction of light.
Okay.
Actually, the refraction here it happens because of the atmosphere layers will be having different refractive index value. That means refractive index of the atmosphere will be continuously changing due to the presence of certain kind of molecules. It may be gases, whatever. So that because of that reason, when we look into the star, I mean the position of the stars, if you are observing, then what happens? The star position is appears to be fluctuating.
Okay.
So as a result, it will be appears to be twinkling. So simple reason, refraction of light, different layers of various refractive.
That's a very simple. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, we got the right one.
Yeah.
So let's move to the next. Very easy question. So, which of the following colors is least scattered? I think if you just remember one thing, that you always see all red color light where in the all the stopping of the traffic, even in the train places, they always use the red light for the train to stop. Why they use it? For the simple reason, it is going it will not deflect from its path or scatter.
Scattering.
Correct. That's the correct one.
Yeah, we are having actually here even, yes, that's what he suggests. I mean, the statement is what we can say, interesting answer he gave. And when it comes to the general concept also, we are having Rayleigh scattering phenomena. In that also, the light will be scattered with respect to the wavelength of the color.
Okay.
So the light color which is having the least wavelength will be scattered most always.
Okay.
So then they said least scattered, nothing but here inversely proportional to the wavelength.
Okay.
So more wavelength, red color will be having complete compared to
Okay.
this. So we can say that red color will scatter least here as it is having more wavelength.
Okay. It's easy. So let's take the answer. Same answer. We got it. Let's move to the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, we again talking about the red light.
Yeah.
The red light has a wavelength about. Okay.
Yeah, fine.
Now that this is a little beyond. This is
No, actually, we should know that the values of wavelengths of the colors which are given, so that we can go for comparison. That's not.
So generalize fail. Why red light of the street, red traffic and all.
Uh,
Now you don't need to be
yeah,
scientific.
we can make
Okay.
it up. So here they are asking about red light has a wavelength about, right? So then if you look at the options and the comparison is with respect to the blue light.
Mhm.
So then we should know the wavelengths of these two colors. So for red light, if I say approximately, it's not that standard and fixed value, approximate value will be around some 700 nanometer. And for blue light, it will be around some 400 nanometer. And as I am going for comparison, let us solve it through a ratio 1, I mean division on 1. I am taking the division of these two. So 700 by 400 as the units are same, so that you can cancel both. 700 by 400 is nothing but approximately that it will be 1.7 times. So 1.75, approximately 1.8. That means wavelength of red color is 1.8 times greater than wavelength of blue. So any kind of option, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we
There is one
can. We got it
option
in the first itself. So that is the correct answer.
Okay. So I'm just leaving it here.
It's just general one only.
But
Yeah,
0.75 we approximated it.
yeah, approximate.
Great. Let's
Don't worry about that exact answers, approximates that you can make.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. The question is, a lens can form a magnified direct image as well as magnified inverted image of an object placed in front of it. State the nature of this lens. Many times it has come then, I mean similar kind of questions. It's a simple one. If you look at the hints that we got it in the
Yeah.
question, they said magnified direct and magnified inverted. And yes, we have to obtain the kind of lens. Simple one in
So magnified is I think magnified is formed by only convex.
exactly. So as I am following your method, eliminating method.
So
So no concave the point.
Okay.
So then convex or plano-convex here.
Okay.
Actually, these kind of images we are obtaining through the biconvex lens. So simply they mention convex lens. Even in your
Okay.
exam also, unless until if they specify, you can't go for plano or such kind of things.
Okay.
So here the lens, whatever we are using, are biconvex lens.
Okay.
So that these kind of things we'll obtain with the help of biconvex lens, nothing but simply convex lens.
Okay.
That's our option A is the one.
Okay, so let's move to the next one then.
Yeah.
Okay, this is correct.
Yeah.
So, okay, question number 28 says that a student is obtaining a blurred image of a distant object. That's the first word, keyword.
Yeah.
Distant object. Okay. And the lens uses convex lens. Okay.
Yeah.
Now he has to obtain a distinct image on the screen.
Yes, that
So-
means a distinct image, nothing but the clear image, the proper image of the object should be obtained on the screen. For that, what should we do? So you are having some following options.
Correct.
So it's a very simple question. If you are thinking too much,
Not required.
it's not even it leads sometimes
Confusion.
getting wrong answer by making confusion.
Okay.
So see, simple discussion. Lens they mentioned is convex lens. I am making a convex lens over here.
Okay.
And they said distant object. Distant object is nothing but you have to assume the object is at infinity.
Okay.
So I am making that object is over here at infinity.
So this is the case of an object infinity, image at focus.
Exactly.
Okay.
So here in this case, screen is fixed because they clearly said to get the distinct image on the screen, he should move the lens. So you have to move the lens then.
Correct.
So then, which means when object is at infinity, in the first case, image is in a
And-
blur mode.
Yeah.
Blur. So to get a proper one, what should I do? Image should be formed at focus.
Correct.
So I can't bring the screen. I
Yeah.
have to make the lens to move.
Okay.
So I'll make the lens to move towards the screen so that the screen position will come at the focus of the convex lens in its second side, second refracting side.
Okay. Okay.
So that
So the rays will go from here and they will
they'll
start
converge.
from here.
Exactly.
So maybe previously it was not converging on it.
Yeah.
So it was maybe like it was a case where the converging was happening like before.
Yeah, before. If
And
the
the
screen
screen
is
was bigger.
exactly, exactly.
So now you're trying to bring it towards it. So you're
Towards the
bringing,
screen.
bringing and making the focus match with this.
Exactly. The position
So
of
the
the screen
position of
that
the
lies
converging
on
in
the
the-
focus. Exactly.
Okay. So
So we'll get here,
towards the screen.
obviously.
Okay, let's start with the next one then. Okay, this starts from assertion reason. Very important part. Always understand the assertion reason and their connection
Yes.
before going and marking any answer.
Exactly.
Okay, let's start.
Most of the students even they used to confuse with this
Yeah.
assertion and reason. Even both are based on the options
Okay.
they used to confuse.
Yeah.
So simple. You may think that the concepts are beyond it. No, never. The concept, the questions will be definitely within the concept. Just have to read the assertion and reason properly. Just understand the meanings of the statement,
Okay.
and then just correlate with the concept existed one. You will get the answer. Simple.
Okay. So the first says the color of the sun is red at the time. I have seen this, sir. Again, a very
Yeah,
general
fine. Yeah, yeah.
case. So I know that this is the red.
Right.
Sunrise, sunset. Correct.
Since our childhood, we are.
Since childhood, we know this is true.
Color
Okay.
of the sun is red at the times of
And
sunset.
then they are saying about blue end of the spectrum gets scattered due to smaller wave. So we are now making it a little fast. We know that this is a true case because red has the highest wavelength, so it
Exactly.
scatters less, and that's why it is used in all the signs.
Yes.
We already found it 1.8 times.
Exactly.
Now you see we are trying to make it a chain,
Yeah.
okay? A kind of a chain so that you remember.
Yes.
So we know that this is also true.
Yes.
Now is it the same reason that
Yes.
you have to explain?
Yeah. See here, they said color of blue end of spectrum gets scattered due to their smaller wavelength.
Correct.
Actually here, during the sunrise and sunset case, all the colors which are having least wavelength, such
Yeah.
as violet, blue, violet and all,
With give-
will be scattered.
Okay.
But they can't travel much more distance.
Correct.
Since they are having least wavelength, right? So they will be scattered away in their journey.
Okay.
Whereas red color will be having greater wavelength,
Okay.
will be scattered least, but
Okay.
will travel more distance.
So this means
So
that
we can say that both are true and the reason is correct explanation.
explanation. Also.
Yes, of
okay.
course.
Then so A is the correct.
Yes.
Okay, let's check. Yes, we are right. So let's move to the next one. Different color of light bends through different angles with respect to the incident ray when they pass through a prism. Okay, they are talking about prism
Yeah.
and they're talking about two lights, many lights, sorry,
Okay.
different colors. They are also talking about the red light bends the least, and now this is confusing, sir, for me.
Yeah.
Red light scatters least.
Okay.
It is saying red light bends the least.
Okay, so that is scattering of light. Now we enter into concept of dispersion. Dispersion of light.
So I think this will be wrong, correct?
Which one?
This statement will be wrong because it's saying red light bends the least.
The
Oh
statement-
no, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
Red
the
light is
statement is
bending the
right.
least.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Okay.
yeah, fine. Reason, give reason then.
Wavelength of red color is greater. I know that wavelength of red color is greater, 1.8 times that of blue.
Obviously.
So this is
So, reason is true.
reason is true. Where is
Then
reason
what
true?
about
This is
explanation?
gone. This is gone.
Yeah.
Now reason and reason is true. Okay, both
Okay,
are
fine.
true.
Yeah, so see here in this case,
Mhm.
we can talk about dispersion.
Okay.
In the dispersion phenomena, when a white light is allowed to pass through the prism,
Okay.
it will split into its respective constant colors.
Okay.
So it will start from red and goes to violet. We are having a form like VPR, you might have heard
Okay,
about
yeah.
it. Yeah, here in that comparison, the violet and here they are talking about violet and red. So violet and red, violet color will be having least wavelength than the red color. That
Okay.
means the wavelength of the violet color, lambda V, here it is less than the lambda R. And when it comes to dispersion concept, when the white light is allowed to made incident to flow through the prism, then as red color is having greater wavelength, it bends least.
Okay.
So the violet color is having less wavelength,
Okay.
it is having more deviation.
Okay.
So then we can make the diagram over here like this.
So
If
below
I
will be
take
violet
this-
and above will be red.
Exactly. So if this is the normal if I
Normal
extend,
part, yeah.
and this is the red color. So this deviation of red color, and this is the deviation of violet color. So red color will be undergone
Okay.
for less deviation compared to violet.
So this is true then.
Yeah. So both assertion and reason are true, and reason is correct explanation
That's
because
right.
it's happening based on the wavelengths of the color
Correct.
only.
Correct.
Yeah.
Let's check it. This is correct. So let's move to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay. On moving from optically rarer to denser medium, our ray bends away. So I tell you are simple. Okay. I know a word called dar. That was told to me.
What's that, dar?
Dar is like a movie of Shah Rukh Khan. So DAR.
Oh, fine.
So it's
How will you
like
connect?
denser to rarer away from the normal. Denser to rarer away. So whenever a light moves from denser medium to a rarer medium, it
Wow.
bends away from the normal. So if any normal is
Okay,
there, it
fine,
will
fine,
go away.
understood.
So
Very nice. So if I take the segregation of the like mediums, denser to rarer,
okay,
then you mean
Up.
that when the light
It will-
is traveling from denser to rarer,
away.
exactly.
Okay. So the question says rarer to denser away. That is obviously wrong. So assertion is false.
Okay.
So
Yes,
assertion is false, not true. Assertion not true. Assertion not true. So I've solved it, sir. Reason is false.
Okay, fine. Then based on option, you eliminated all three. Then let's go for reason one more. time.
Okay.
That's better.
So speed of light is more in denser medium and less in rarer medium. Speed. Sir, you talked about wavelength. Wavelength
Of
deviation
course,
less.
wavelength
So-
speeds and all. Generally, in denser medium, the light will speeds. I mean that slows down.
Because there are many particles like
Yeah.
pushing.
So the same way when I was studying, then
Yeah.
my teacher just said like denser medium is like with a teacher.
Okay.
Rarer
In a
medium
classroom with a teacher.
With a teacher, yeah. So basically, denser medium with the teacher in the sense the class with the teacher.
Okay.
In class, if the teacher is there, students they'll be stick on to their own places. They can't move here and there, which means their speeds over there. There will be controlling on their speed.
Okay. So it's like a speed is the little.
Speed is reduced in the denser medium.
Okay.
Simple.
But the answer is B. Hit and try, same time.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And at the we can't go with this hit and trial or eliminating method at all the times.
Okay.
That's one of the finest one that which reduces our time.
Correct.
But at any cost, we have to read the question completely.
Okay. After I'm filling the circle, after I'm filling the boxes, I'll do that.
Which you are reading the question.
Because there is circle I have to mark, then I have to fill a box.
Okay.
Only while writing the box, I'll go and check again.
While writing the box. Okay.
Yeah, because that is the final answer. I
Yeah.
hope all of you remember. Okay, let's go with the next one. Okay, that's obviously we found 32.
Yeah. Assertion. When a concave mirror is held under water, its focal length will decrease. Reason the focal length of a concave mirror is independent of the medium in which it is placed.
This is now beyond me.
Actually, whatever the mirror, general mirror, concave mirror or convex mirror, the focal length of the mirror is completely independent of the medium in which they are going to be placed.
Okay.
So whether it is under the water or it is on the air or whatever the medium that we are going to be placed them, their focal length remains constant. That means focal length of the mirror here, it is independent of the medium in which it is placed. Reason is correct, but the assertion they gave it as the focal length will decrease. Assertion is false, reason is correct.
So when a concave mirror is held in the water, its focal length will increase.
No, focal length remains same.
Oh, remains
So
same.
that means focal length of
Okay.
the mirror is independent of the medium in which they are going to be placed.
Okay, so the combined focal length we don't have to check, correct?
No, that's
Only we
not.
have to talk about the concave mirror.
Concave mirror, when it is placed in any medium. They said water, you may take some other medium.
Okay.
So no issues. Focal length of the mirror there, it remains same.
So it is independent of the medium.
Yeah.
So we have to take the.
Assertion is false here, and
But
reason
reason
is
is
true. So we can say that option D.
That's correct. Let's move to the next one. So an object is placed at a distance of d from a convex mirror of focal length. Okay, I'll listen. Focal length d. Its image will form at infinity. Convex mirror same as concave lens. Concave lens and convex mirror are very same.
Okay, fine.
Okay, I just remembered from lens.
Okay.
So now it is saying distance of d from a convex mirror. So you can draw convex mirror.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is saying an object is placed at a distance of d. I don't know the distance exact.
Okay,
Let's
so
say
we
any
convex
distance.
mirror of focal length.
Or focal length is also d.
Yeah.
So it is at focus only then.
Yes.
Okay. So the object is at focus only.
Okay, fine.
Okay. So image will be at infinity.
So this is a convex mirror, right?
Yeah.
For convex mirror, we'll be having only two cases.
Okay.
One is when object is kept at infinity.
Okay.
That is other than infinity.
Okay.
So then when object is at infinity,
Okay.
image will be appears to be formed at focus.
Okay.
But here other case. That
At-
means object is other than infinity.
Other than
Whether it is at focus or
Okay.
whatever the distance doesn't matter.
Okay.
In fact, this is the focus distance, but focus exactly for convex mirror lies behind it.
Okay.
Okay, fine. That's secondary.
Okay.
So here the object is kept other than infinity.
Okay.
Whether it is focal length distance or something, whatever it is, image will be always formed in between pole and focus.
Pole
And-
and focus.
yes.
It's a virtual image always.
Yeah, virtual erect
So they were
image.
trying to trick us.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
And the distance of image in convex mirror can never be infinity.
Yeah, so here for convex mirror definitely can never be infinity.
Because it
since
is
object
behind.
image is always it is in between the pole and focus.
Okay. Pole
So
and-
the range of the image is over here only.
So this is true.
So this is true. Yeah.
The first is object is placed at a distance. Its image is this is wrong.
Yeah.
So I will do my hidden trick. Reason is false. That's only one case. Reason
Okay,
is
fine.
false.
Assertion is
No, assertion is false. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Assertion is false.
Assertion is false, reason is
So,
true.
Assertion is false and reason is
Yeah.
true.
Correct.
Fine. Then we got the answer. That's D.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to the next one. We have left with now 6 questions. Okay.
Yeah. Fine. Yeah, question number, shall I?
Let's
Yeah, fine.
please.
35 assertion. For observing traffic at back, the driver mirror is convex mirror. Reason, a convex mirror has much larger field of view than a plane mirror. Simple then,
I think it's correct.
yeah.
Because when I see a convex mirror, it can take the light ray from here till here.
Yeah.
Correct. So it will
So
take a
con-
very wide depth.
Wide
wide
field view.
of-
Yes. A convex mirror basically, whatever, it will be having a wide field view.
Yeah.
So that, and apart from that, it can produce virtual or a diminished image. So that we'll use such kind of mirrors as vehicle rear view mirrors.
Because then we can be able to see a wider range of
Yeah.
vehicle coming from behind.
Exactly.
Correct.
So-
And if it's written, object appears closer to them they really are.
Yes, that's a fact. So here, this
True.
is convex mirror. Yes, both are true and it's correct
explanation.
explanation. Yeah,
So A option.
Yeah.
Let's check. It's correct.
yeah.
Let's move to the next one. Appraise, very easy, I think so. Appraise deviates the ray of light towards its base. Yes, that's
Yeah.
what we have taught. Every
Towards-
time because the normal makes such a way, the normal of the prism makes such a way that the denser, rarer to denser happens and it bends towards the
Towards. Okay, fine then.
That's why towards the base only.
Yeah, then.
Both refracting sides scatter the light. I
No,
don't know.
actually here the light will be refracting. The reason is.
We got the answer already, sir. Sorry.
Oh, fine.
So okay, let's. But assertion is true, reason is false. But
Yeah,
still,
reason
yes,
is. Yeah, okay, fine then. No interest. Yeah, see here, this is the prism.
Yeah.
For prism, these two refracting surfaces are not parallel actually.
Okay.
So they are subtended an angle.
Okay.
So that's the reason here rarer to denser when the light ray is traveling, it will bend over here, right? That will be bent towards the
Base.
normal. I mean,
Yeah.
okay,
Towards
rarer to
normal,
denser.
correct.
Yeah, this is the normal.
Yeah.
Towards the normal, I can
Correct.
say. And then at this time also, here if I draw normal, this is the normal,
Correct.
and this will be like this.
Okay.
So as the prism consists of what is a non-parallel surface, the
Okay.
two refracting surfaces are at an inclined one,
Yeah.
so that light won't be scattered over there.
Okay.
So that scattering no way. So
Is
both
the-
reason is false then.
We already saw it. Sorry.
Yeah, fine.
So okay, let's reset this. Okay, when an object is placed at the center of curvature of a concave mirror. Okay, we are talking about a concave mirror.
Yeah, concave mirror.
Okay,
Yeah,
you
cave
please
shape.
draw. Okay,
Yeah.
cave shape.
Yeah.
Object is placed at the center of curvature.
Center of curvature.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
This is pole, focus, and then center. Yeah.
Okay. So object is at center of curvature.
Yeah, fine. This is the one.
Okay. Now what will be the, so can you please draw the ray
image
diagram
from-
only?
It's very simple.
Yeah.
Minimum to any two light rays we require.
Okay.
I'll take one light ray that is
Parallel.
parallel to the axis, so that as it is converging mirror, that will pass through focus over here.
Okay.
And the second light ray, I'll project it through focus.
And it will go parallel.
They will be meeting at the center of curvature.
At C, at C.
At C, exactly. So when the object is placed at center of curvature for a concave mirror, image also will be formed at center of curvature, but the image nature will be different. That is real inverted image. So then real inverted and same size in fact.
Okay.
So you can
Same
say that-
size as that of the object.
Exactly. Option C.
Very
It's
easy,
very
sir.
simple,
Let's
yeah.
check. Very easy. Let's move to the next one. No matter how far you stand from a mirror, your image appears erect. The mirror is likely to be plane, sir.
Plane.
What's
Okay,
the
fine.
easy? So plane, because you see, I can stand
Exactly.
anywhere from plane mirror.
And-
My image appears always. It is always erect. I never feel inverted.
Yes, correct. And but you didn't look at the
But
remaining
convex.
options. Better.
Yeah. So always did.
Yeah. As you are always going with the first come first serve, we are opting and leaving.
Yeah.
No, this plane is correct, of course.
Plane is correct.
And in fact, convex mirror also, whatever the position of the object it may be, if you are standing in front of a convex mirror, that can also produce virtual erect image.
Always erect image.
Yeah, always. So both plane and convex, both options, I mean both are possible.
Okay, so D will be the better answer then.
Yeah, you are having D.
Yeah.
So that's why children, you have to even look at the four options very keenly and thoroughly.
correct.
Yeah.
So plane or convex. Concave,
Yeah.
no.
No convex, no concave. Definitely.
Concave does not appear.
Not. Definitely not.
Okay, because it is converging.
It can make virtual erect image, but only one particular case.
Correct.
But they are saying that clearly how far you stand, irrespective of the distance.
Okay, then that is the why concave can never.
Yeah. So if suppose if they mention just erect image, irrespective of the distance, then likely to be A, B, C, all possible answers will be there. When irrespective of the distance, if they will mention just erect image,
Yeah.
plane mirror can form erect image and convex can form concave.
Correct. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. We are at the last two questions, so let's completely do
Yeah.
that. A child is standing in front of a magic mirror. She
Yeah.
finds the image of her head bigger, the middle portion of her body the same size, and that the legs smaller.
Okay. It's very small.
Okay. The following is the order of combination for the magic mirror from the top.
So here this is the bigger one.
Bigger, same size.
This is same size they are saying.
Sir, same plane I think so is I get. Same size plane.
Yeah,
No?
same size definitely plane one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What about bigger?
Bigger actually concave mirror can produce
Magnified images in general when
Okay.
it compared to plane and convex mirror.
Okay.
So then, as they said, the head is bigger.
Yeah.
So the magic mirror upper portion, if this is the magic mirror, then upper portion is concave,
Okay.
and they said the middle portion is same size.
Mhm.
So the plane mirror, irrespective of the distance, the plane mirror will produce the same size of
Okay.
image with respect to its object.
Okay.
So this is the plane mirror,
Okay.
and the legs are smaller. They said. So then, virtual erect diminished case is possible only in the case of convex mirror. So I can say this is the convex case. Now the order is concave, plane, and convex.
Got it. So easy. Concave, plane, and convex.
Yeah, if you just have to know the basic properties of the mirror. so that
Concave
you can
makes
apply.
big and convex makes small.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine.
But of course, but they said what like virtual. Yeah, so
Child
they
is
didn't mention it.
okay.
Generally, it's a virtual erect case only you should take here.
Yeah. Not the child is getting inverted.
Yeah, it's not like that.
Okay. Last question. Okay. So
Yeah.
to get an image larger than the object, one can use. We just know it.
Yeah, just now we discussed
Convex.
concave. No, what the image larger than the object, right?
Okay.
So that image size should be appeared a bit magnified.
Yeah.
So convex cannot produce a magnified image.
Mirror.
It can produce. Yeah, mirror.
Okay.
Yes, of course, mirror. I'm talking.
Okay.
Convex mirror can produce only diminished image.
Convex is diminished. Correct.
Diminished.
Diminished. Okay.
So then they
And
said
concave can produce big.
concave mirror.
Mirror.
Yeah,
Yes.
mirror.
Mirror can produce big.
Big. Yes.
Okay.
So here, larger they said whether it is real inverted or virtual erect doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The larger image is possible over here in this case is just because of concave mirror, but not convex mirror. So option B. Yeah.
Correct. Superb. So, kids, we have finally completed all this 20 questions of physics, of biology, then will be in the next. And I hope that you will be able to score better now. These are very important and good questions of it, we have found. Hope it helps you. Okay, all the best.
Yeah, all the best.
Now we are going to see 20 important questions in biology. And the first question is, opening and closing of pores is a function performed by, and the options are stomata, chlorophyll, chloroplast, guard cells. I think the answer should be stomata.
Well, we need to read the options carefully. So, stomata itself are the pores which are mentioned in the question. So, stomata can't be the correct answer. Neither can be the chlorophyll and chloroplast since they are the photosynthetic pigments. Hence, the correct answer is guard cells. And these are the guard cells.
But why are they doing that, sir?
Yeah, so guard cells, how they function is that water gets filled in the guard cells, and once water gets filled, they become turgid. Just like when you fill air in balloon, they become turgid and they will close the pore. And when the water gets removed by osmosis, they become flaccid, and hence the pores will close. And this is when they fill with water again, the pores will open. So this is how the guard cells are the specialized cells which help in opening and closing of stomata.
That was a good explanation. So let's move on to the next question. So the question is, which of the following events in the mouth cavity will be affected if salivary amylase is lacking in the saliva? And the options are these.
So yes, since the question is about salivary amylase, and we all know that salivary amylase plays an important role in digestion of the carbohydrates or starch. And if we read the various options, starch is mentioned in option A, hence this should be the correct answer.
Oh, that is the correct answer. What about the explanation, sir? What does this image explain?
So we know that we have heard that the digestion happens mainly in the small intestine, but the process of digestion starts right from the mouth. And in mouth, we have salivary amylase, which will start digesting starch and will break down into further products. So that's why A is the correct answer.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next question. The question is, which of these juices is secreted by pancreas? And the options are trypsin, pepsin, bile juice, both 1 and 2. And I think the answer should be bile juice.
Well, just because they have mentioned juices in the question doesn't mean that your answer should be bile juice. They are asking which enzymes are secreted by pancreas. And pancreas secrete trypsin and pepsin both, which are useful in digestion of proteins. Hence, the correct answer should be
Okay.
both 1 and 2. Yes, and we know that bile juice is secreted by the gall bladder, which is present in the liver, and pancreas will secrete the enzymes required for digestion.
Okay, that explains. Let's move on to the next question. The question is, one cell thick vessels are called arteries, veins, capillaries, pulmonary artery. Now it is saying thick vessels, so I think the answer should be arteries.
Well, your answer would have been correct if they had written only thick vessels. Because we know that arteries, since they have to pump blood with high pressure, their walls are thick. But they have written one cell thick vessels. It means they are asking about blood vessels which have only one layer of cell around. It means they are asking the thinnest type of blood vessels, and those have to be the capillaries.
Okay, so this image also explains the same stuff. These are the capillaries and these are one cell thicks. Thank you, sir. So now let's move on to the next question. The question is, in which of the following vertebrate group or groups heart does not pump oxygenated blood to different parts of the body? And the answer should be amphibians.
Well, the correct answer is they are asking about heart does not pump oxygenated blood. It means the heart is only two chambered, and that is found in fishes. And fishes belong to Pisces. Hence, the correct answer will be D, Pisces only.
Okay, but how does they get oxygenated blood then?
Well, if you see this diagram over here, fishes only have two chambered heart, and so the deoxygenated blood gets collected from various body organs to the heart, and heart pumps this deoxygenated blood to the gills. And we know gills are the organs in fishes which help in getting the oxygen, and it oxygenates the blood, and the oxygenated blood is pushed by the same pressure to the different body organs. So this is a unique type of circulation found in fishes.
Okay, so this is what single circulation means. Nice. Let's move on to the next question. And the question is case study. So let's read aloud this whole question. Blood transports food and waste material in our body. It consists of plasma as fluid medium. It requires a pumping organ that can push the blood around. The blood flows through the chambers of the organ in a specific manner and direction. While flowing throughout the body, blood exerts a pressure against the walls or a vessel. So based on this passage, we are going to answer the following 5 questions. So let's see the question. Which life process is depicted by the above passage? Since I have read the passage and it is talking about blood and pump, I think the answer should be transportation.
Well, it's absolutely correct. The correct answer is transportation, since they are talking about the pumping of blood by the heart, and the blood is one of the important fluid which transport important substances all over the body. Let's move on to the next question.
Yes, sir. So the next question is, name a circulatory fluid in the human body other than blood. And the options are platelets, RBC, lymph, plasma. So they are talking about circulatory fluid, and I think the answer should be plasma.
Well, plasma is surely an important component of blood. In fact, plasma is the one which gives blood its fluidity, since it contains water and other substances. But they are asking circulatory fluid other than blood. So other than blood, the circulatory fluid is the lymph. And lymph is an extracellular fluid which carries some important substances which cannot be carried by blood. Hence, the correct answer is lymph.
Okay, now that explains. Let's move on to the next question. Deoxygenated blood leaves through the right ventricle through. So they are talking about deoxygenated blood. And I think the answer is pulmonary vein.
Well, this is the most common mistake which most of the students make. The definition of arteries and veins should be based on the direction of the blood flow, not on the type of the blood carried. So whenever the blood flows towards the heart, then that always has to be a vein. And whenever the blood flows away from heart, that blood vessel is the artery. So the direction of the blood should define the name of the blood vessels, not the type of blood carried by it. So in this case, the correct answer should be pulmonary artery.
Okay, and that is the correct answer. So now let's move on to the next question. The question is, oxygenated blood from lungs enter left atrium through. Now since sir have explained me about heart and its circulation, I think the answer should be pulmonary vein in this case.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. It's the pulmonary vein which is going to carry blood from lungs. It carries the oxygenated blood from the lungs and takes it to the heart in order to pump it to various parts.
Okay, now let's move on to the next question. And the question is, which of the following statements is true about heart? Sir, can you please explain this question?
So in these type of question, we need to analyze every statement, mark it whether it is correct or wrong, and then move on to the option. Otherwise, there is chances of making mistake or getting confused. So let's see each statement one by one. It is a hollow muscular organ. Well, yes, it is a hollow muscular organ, as you can see in the image over here. It is a four chambered having 3 atria and ventricle. Is it true? No, it is not true, since we know that heart has 2 atriums and 2 ventricles. It is a 4-chambered organ in our body. Then it has different chambers to prevent oxygen-rich blood from mixing with the blood containing carbon dioxide. Well, this was incorrect. This is true. The 2 types of bloods are well divided by the septum, which is present in between the 2. And arteries always carry blood away from heart. Well, as we had discussed in the previous question, the direction of the blood defines the name of the blood vessel. So this is also true. And what should be the answer then?
So according to your explanation, the answer should be then D. And it is correct. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So now we are having assertion and reason based questions, and the first question is the accumulation of lactic acid in the muscles cause muscle cramps, and the reason for that is during vigorous physical exercise leg muscles respire anaerobically. Okay, since I know a little bit about anaerobic respiration, I think the answer should be B.
Okay, so assertion and reasoning type of question are the questions where maximum mistakes can happen as they are confusing. So that's why again in this we need to read every statement and analyze them properly. Let's see the first statement. The accumulation of lactic acid in muscle causes muscle cramps. Well, it is true. Lactic acid accumulation because of the lack of oxygen, this product is formed, and that is what results to muscle cramps. This is surely true. And reason says during vigorous physical exercise, leg muscles respire anaerobically, which is also true. Okay, so these two, both the statements are true, and because anaerobic respiration occurs in leg muscles, the cramps are created. Hence, the correct answer should be A.
Okay, but then, sir, they are talking about anaerobic respiration. Ethanol also forms anaerobically. What about that?
Yes, it is true. Ethanol or alcohol is also a byproduct, but that happens when there is complete absence of oxygen. But in this case, there is lack of oxygen, and when there is lack of oxygen, there is incomplete respiration where the lactic acid will be formed in muscles.
Okay, so that explains it. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, so the next assertion is in anaerobic respiration, one of the end product is alcohol. That is what we talked about, no?
Yes.
So the reason behind it is there is an incomplete breakdown of glucose. And based on your explanation, I think the answer should be A.
Yes, so we had this question is also related to the previous question. In anaerobic respiration, alcohol is formed because of absence of oxygen. There is incomplete breakdown of glucose, and that's why the correct answer is A.
Okay, so that was correct. Let's move on to the next question. So the assertion is carbohydrate digestion mainly takes place in small intestine. And the reason behind it is pancreatic juice contains the enzyme lactase. I think pancreatic juices definitely hold enzyme and it might be lactase. So the answer should be A.
Well, pancreas do secrete various useful enzymes, but we also need to read the name of the enzyme. Just because it has A's at the end, not necessarily it has to be correct. Lactase is incorrect over here. There is an enzyme called lipase which is secreted by the pancreatic juice along with other enzymes like the pepsin and the trypsin. So this statement is incorrect, and whereas the first statement that carbohydrate digestion mainly takes place in small intestine is correct. So hence, as per this explanation, the correct answer should be C. But well, what if instead of mainly, if it was written only, then what would have been your answer?
Then it would have been B.
Well, if it is only, that this statement also becomes incorrect. Okay, because carbohydrate digestion also takes place in mouth. As we had seen, the salivary amylase also helps in digestion. So both the statement would have been incorrect, and there is no such option of both being false. Hence, this question would have been incorrect. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay, sir. So the next assertion is energy is required to carry out different life processes, and the reason for it is energy is obtained in the form of ATP in the mitochondria. Well, I think ATP is generated in mitochondria. So the answer for this should be A.
Yes, it's absolutely correct. Energy is required for carrying out various life processes, whether it is the transportation or digestion, and that energy is obtained from ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate, which is also known as the energy currency, which is produced in mitochondria, the powerhouse of cell. Hence, the correct answer is A.
Okay, great. So now let's move on to the next question. So the next assertion is the purpose of making urine is to filter out undigested food from intestine. And the reason for it is kidneys filter the waste and produce urine. Okay, so kidneys do produce urine and they do help in filtration. So the answer should be A.
Well, as I said, we need to read the statements carefully. Second statement, the reason is surely true since kidney filter the blood and they remove waste products, the nitrogenous waste in the form of urine. But the first statement that the purpose of making urine is to filter undigested food form is incorrect since undigested food form is produced from the process of digestion and the process of removing it is called egestion. Okay, so that's why this statement is incorrect since urine formation is involved in the process of excretion, and hence the correct answer will be D, that is A is false but reason is true.
Okay, so thank you for explaining. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. The assertion is blood and lymph are both circulatory fluids, and the reason for that is blood flows in one direction, but lymph only flows in one direction.
Well, let's see the first statement. Blood and lymph are both circulatory fluids, which is true. And the second statement says blood flows in both direction. That is also true, that it flows towards the heart and also away from heart, whereas lymph flows only in one direction, which is also true. Lymph always flows towards the heart. Hence, the second statement is also true. But now comes, so anyone would think that the answer is A, but since lymph flows only in one direction, that cannot be then explanation to say that they both are circulatory fluid. Hence, the correct answer will be B. That is, reason is not correct explanation for A.
Well, that was a tricky question. Let's move on to the next question. And the assertion is alveoli contains an extensive network of blood vessels. And the reason for that is alveoli is the site of gaseous exchange. And I think the answer should be A because alveoli definitely is the site for gaseous exchange.
Yes, that is true. Alveoli does contains extensive blood network since it takes in oxygen, the lungs takes in oxygen, and that has to be transferred by the process of diffusion. It will enter into the capillaries. And alveoli, as we had discussed, it is a site of gaseous exchange. Both carbon dioxide and oxygen are exchanged there. Hence, the correct answer is A.
Yay, so I was correct this time. Let's move on to the next question. So the assertion is diffusion is unable to meet high energy requirements in a multicellular organism. And the reason for that is diffusion is a fast process but only occurs on the surface of the body. I do know that diffusion is a surface mechanism, so I think the answer for that is A.
Well, we need to read the statement carefully. Diffusion is surely a surface phenomenon since larger the surface area, more faster will be a diffusion. But if you see, diffusion is not a fast process, it is a very slow process. And that is the reason why diffusion is unable to meet high energy requirement in the multicellular organism since there are various life processes happening in the multicellular organism and they require energy on a faster rate. So that's why statement assertion is true, but reason is incorrect, and that's why the answer will be C.
Okay, again that was a confusing question. Let's move on to the next question. So the next assertion is the movement of water and dissolved salts in xylem is mostly upwards. And the reason for that is the upward movement of water is due to low pressure created by transpiration. I think I have read about transpiration and the answer should be A in this case.
Well, your answer would have been absolutely correct if there was one word missing in the assertion. Again, read the assertion carefully. The movement of water and dissolved salts in xylem is mostly upwards. Where? We had discussed in the beginning, words, we should be very careful and aware about words like mostly, always, only. So because of this mostly, the assertion becomes incorrect because the movement of xylem is always upwards. When we say mostly means there are chances that sometimes it might not happen upwards. Well, that is incorrect. So that's why it makes assertion incorrect. Whereas reason, the statement of reason is true that the upward movement of water is due to the transpiration pressure created. Hence, the correct answer will be D. That is A is false and reason is true.
Okay, that explains it. So now let's move on to our last question of this session. And the question is, the Bowman's capsule and the tubule together make a nephron. And the reason for that is the function of tubule is to allow the selective reabsorption of substances like glucose, amino acids, urea, salts and water into the blood capillaries. I do know that tubule have selective reabsorption, sir. So is the answer A?
Well, again, here the answer would have been A if there was one word missing in the reason. Please read the reason carefully. Function of tubule is to allow selective reabsorption of substance. It is true, it absorbs the substances which are required by the body. But what are those substances? Glucose, amino acids, urea. Error. Urea is a substance which is not reabsorbed. In fact, that is the entire purpose of filtration in the nephron is to remove urea. So just because of the urea word is present here, it makes the reason incorrect. Whereas assertion is true that Bowman's capsule and tubule together make nephron. So the correct answer will be C.
Okay, so that was again a tricky question. And we are done with our 20 important questions for biology. So, all the best for your tomorrow's exam.
Make sure you read the question carefully and attempt many such questions, and do download the Practically app and register to start your free trial and find amazing questions and discussions. Thank you.
Bring learning alive practically.